fun things that I've actually done with AIA Rochester in the past. So I mentioned I went to LaBella and I was looking for what my passion was in architecture, and I ended up doing a lot of K through 12 projects. So I love K through 12 because there's thousands of different types of architecture to do, and every school district is a little different. So from there, I've actually been able to do professional development spaces, cafes, libraries, technology wings, offices, fields. So I've done softball fields, baseball fields, stadiums, concession stands, all different types of fields. I do restrooms, which doesn't sound like the most fun type of architecture, but it's actually really interesting, you know, trying to solve that puzzle and figure out all of the ADA pieces and how they go together. And then auditoriums and gyms and kitchens. So K through 12 gave me the opportunity to do it all. And one of the things I like to do is try and solve a problem. So there's always something new for me to solve, and I haven't gotten bored yet. You can see some of the projects here. So the cubbies, that's actually in a library. That's Webster Central School District. The one next to it that actually has the box seating, that's a cafetorium, also at Webster Central School District. You'll see a lot of my stuff is Webster, so I have 3 main clients that I work with. So I get a lot of opportunity to try new things, and they're a really fun client because they wanted to Googleize their entire campus. The middle bottom one is a breakout room, so that's actually a test classroom. So it's actually the exact size of a classroom, so it's 770 square feet, information that for some reason I know. And it allows teachers to go in there and practice how they might want to set up their class. And all of the furniture is flexible to go in and out of that space so that they can have a test run of how they might do their classroom after the fact. And they can actually get evaluated in that space and have an idea of what they're doing right and doing wrong. The one next to that is actually a rendering of their technology wing at Thomas High School. So that's currently under construction and wrapping up. And then I got to do an office space that they're building at grounds, and then a field. And so that's actually a turf softball and baseball field. So that's a synthetic field. It's not actual grass, which is really cool that they started doing that for softball, not only football field. And then that's also a blue track, which is crazy to me. Who would want a blue track? But anyway, so those are the cool projects I get to do on K through 12. I'm going to get into a little bit of information on how we engage with the client. So I know you guys are talking about civic engagement, and that's something that you're going to be involved with throughout your entire career as an architect. Because, you know, it's so people-oriented. You're constantly asking people, what do you need out of this space? And you're taking that and you're actually turning it around and making it meet their goals and actually be something that you're proud of as well. So to start with Webster and a lot of our other school districts, what we do is we actually get students and faculty from the spaces, and we bring them into our office and we do focus groups. So that means we print out hundreds of pictures for them and we break them into groups. And so those are pictures having to do with the spaces. So if we're doing a library, we print out hundreds of pictures of libraries, we break them into groups and we give them a stack. And we say, break these into 2 categories, what you like and what you don't like. And then they go through and they actually draw all over those pictures. And then you can see they start to put Post-it notes on them. So I'll go through the process a little bit in a bit. But it's a really fun process, and you get to actually talk to the end users. And we get to engage with not only, you know, the people in the district office, but the people who will be using it. So those are the students and the teachers. And it's a lot of fun. And then you get to have those students as actual ambassadors. They get to go back to their classroom and talk about how excited they are about the project and they were involved. And then when it's actually built, they're very excited about it too. They're like, we picked out that green color and we told them we wanted this to be orange. So first, you can see some of the images we use. So we take projects that we've done, but we also go on the internet and we take some images that other people do that we think are really cool. And we allow the students to actually circle what they like about those images. And then we also have a pile of things they don't like. We don't actually put them on their end board. And then from there, they put their favorite images on a poster board, and they put sticky notes together with adjectives to describe what they like about those spaces. And then when that's all done, we take all of the sticky notes off with the group of students and teachers, and we put them on a board, and we kind of ask them to categorize them all together, because you'll find that a lot of the groups use the same words. There's a lot of key words that describe what they want, like organic or welcoming bright. So from there, we actually take the information that we got from the students and we transform it into our own graphics. We take everything that they liked and we actually put it on a finished focus board. And we send this out to the districts as what we are using whenever we think of the design. So whenever we're like, what should this look like? We refer back to this board and we think, well, this is what the district is looking for. We should design something with this in mind. So from there, we actually put together final renderings. So we do renderings at 3 stages of our design process. So we do them at the pre-rep. So this is before we actually talk to anybody and we tell them, you know, this is what we plan to do. And then after we do those visualization boards and those focus groups, we actually redo the renderings and take them to the next level. So you can see it went from very black and white, and we took some of these ideas like the cubbies and the bookshelves, but nothing much, and we revamped the whole thing. And so that's one of the final renderings that incorporated some of their ideas of like curves and cool colors and nature. And then from there, you can see what the final space looks like. So it's really cool to see the renderings turn into reality. So from that rendering, this is the actual final product. I wish we could have it zoomed out a little bit because we actually put in those wall graphics. And we have the cool curve that goes into a bookshelf. So it's a lot of fun throughout that process to make sure that we are incorporating what the end user wants to have. So with Webster Central School District, we did tons of these. So we met with different groups of people for each type of space. So we met about their professional development space, their cafetorium, their library, their technology wing, their district office, and their fields. And so we came up with a bunch of different boards. But it's really cool because if you look at them, a lot of them have the same exact words associated with them, like welcome is on there a bunch of times, modern, natural, and bright. So throughout the school district, they clearly had a vision of what they wanted for all of their spaces. So moving forward, we kept that in mind whenever we designed something for them. So some of the spaces that we designed, so this is their professional development space. And one of the cool things about Webster is that they wanted to Googleize everything. So they pretty much gave us free reign to design whatever we wanted based on those focus boards. And then it actually got built, which is sometimes rare for a school district. So you can see this is their old auditorium. So we actually rearranged a lot of their spaces. We built them a new auditorium, and then we made this into their professional development space. So we actually reopened some windows in their wall to bring in a lot of new natural light. And then we used bright colors, the Google colors, throughout their entire professional development space. And then we also brought in those wood tones to have that natural feel as well. And then we also, this wasn't originally here, that's a new stair. So they wanted their professional development space connected to their district office, which was up on the floor above. So they wanted to have a lot of connectivity in the entire space, and they also wanted it to feel bright and open. And then those new windows actually allowed natural light to go into the district office up here that we put additional windows in. Another space that we recently did in Webster was their high school library. So they were transforming their library from just a library to a media center. So we're finding a lot of school districts are doing this. You don't necessarily need all of the books, as many books as you did previously, because a lot of the books are digital. Like there aren't as many textbooks and a lot of the books you can read on your phone. So they wanted to make it a media center where students can come and work together and collaborate. So this was actually this space right here was actually originally their courtyard. So what we did was we added a roof. It's actually a sloped truss system, and then added windows. So that allowed, so you can see where these previous windows are, and now they're over here. So since we were infilling windows, we had to make sure we had light going from the new space all the way into their existing library. So those high windows allowed for natural light to spill all the way into the existing library and then also light up this new space. And then another cool thing that we did at Webster was they wanted to incorporate their technology bar. So they have an area where students actually fix the Chromebooks themselves. It's like an Apple store where you can come in and you go up. And they wanted that connected to the media center now because it makes sense that if you're using your Chromebook in the media center, that you can go and get it fixed right in an adjacent space. And then the overhead door allows for connectivity when they want it, but also privacy when they don't. So that actually has a frosted glass overhead door on it. So again, these are their district offices. So this is where their superintendent works and their financing staff. And they were going from, you can see here, it's their existing office space. So they had this wall. So those windows are on the other side of this wall. So all of these people in here didn't have any windows. So taking down this wall and making more of an open concept allows everybody to have natural light throughout the day. And then these these areas right here are actual what they call phone booths. So you could actually, you don't need to rent them out, but you can use them throughout the day and they're not assigned to anybody. So they work out in the open space most of the time, but when they need privacy, they could go into a phone booth and use that space for a private call, or if they just, wanted some time by themselves, or people are being loud out there. So that is the floor plan throughout the entire space, is the shared open space at the windows, and then private spaces at the corridor wall. So that allows for everybody to have natural light throughout the day. And again, you can see the crazy Google colors throughout the entire space. And then their libraries are another fun project that we're working on right now. They seem very busy, but they're elementary school libraries. That's just what they look like. We can't help it. So what they wanted to make sure they had throughout, so they have 7 elementaries in Webster Central School District, and they wanted consistency throughout all of their spaces for what kind of spaces were provided, but then they also wanted each library to be unique. So each of the different libraries has a different design associated with it, and we did focus groups from the previous slides to see what everybody was interested in per library. So their colors were actually selected by the students, any of the themes were selected by the students, and then all of the different, elements, like one wanted some mountain scenes, so we made sure to put the mountains on the desk, and then another person really liked super curvy stuff, so we made sure to have their tiered seating in super curvy areas. So it's really interesting to be able to have consistency throughout the space. So each of these spaces has a classroom space, a circulation space, and then cubbies with tiered seating, but they are each still very unique designs so that they can feel like they have pride in their specific school. Another school district I worked on is North Tonawanda CSD. We did focus groups with this group as well. It's really interesting. As you go through my slides, you can see what each school colors are. So Webster school colors were blue and, well, depends on the school, blue and white or blue and gold. North Tonawanda's school colors are red and blue. So this space was actually originally a gymatorium, which is a gym and an auditorium combined. So it was a really interesting design challenge to figure out how to make this space not feel like a gym anymore and to really transform it to feel like it was always meant to be an auditorium. So you could see in this bottom corner, you could see the mats, and then they had pull-out seats to actually create the auditorium, and then they had some upper seating as well. So this is the same image. You can see this is the same wall. So we actually installed actual fixed seating, and then we brought some warmer colors in with those wood tones, and then we improved the acoustics by putting all of those ceiling clouds in as well. So that was a really fun project to figure out how to change a gym into an auditorium. And in North Tonawanda, we also did a gym addition. So as you can see, all of their school colors, those are the colors the students actually chose because everybody has school pride and they were very proud of their school district. So when we built their new gym, we made sure to incorporate all of those reds and blues throughout the space. And we actually have them in the cal wall that's up top, the transparent windows that actually, allowed us to put an N and a T in there for their North Tonawanda logo. And they also did classrooms. So there was a classroom edition, and it was really cool to try and incorporate some of the bright colors into the spaces with just adding a surround around their teaching wall. And then another school district I'm currently working on is Canandaigua City School District. So this is my current project. It is a lot of fun. Anybody guess their school colors? Yeah, red and gray. It was an interesting project because what they're trying to do is have district consistency through all of their buildings. Right now they have some purple lockers, some green lockers, some brown floors, some gray tile. So we're pretty much redoing the finishes throughout the entire school district. And they went with their school colors, which are red and gray. And so we redid all of their bathrooms to incorporate some of that red and gray into their tile work. We redid their cafeterias, and we brought that in with soffits and then acoustical sound panels. So we try and make it so that there's not too much of any of that color throughout the entire space in case somebody else comes in and they want to change it. So we do a lot of the big splashes of color in paints and like acoustical wall panels that can easily be changed. But it's a really interesting balance between giving them what they want and durable materials and also not going overboard with those colors. So other great parts of being involved in the community at LaBella is LINK. So LINK is LaBella in the community. So they do a lot of different engagements with the community. So there's Day of Caring, which is with United Way, where we actually go out into the community and do, we paint, we garden, we do all sorts of different work, volunteering. LaBella gives us a day off, and we're able to actually go out and do something we're good at, maybe that's outside of our architecture or engineering experience. We also do Habitat for Humanity, which if you have an opportunity to do that, I would highly recommend it. Being able to actually be out there and build something with your hands is a great opportunity, and see how things go together, because you'll find once you're in the field, actually seeing it built or being able to build it yourself is completely different than drawing it on paper. You can draw it on paper 1,000 times and it doesn't make sense, or at least for me, until I visually see it and how it goes together. And I did Habitat for Humanity 3 years in a row at UB, and it was a great learning experience to see, the layers of how things go together, and then how the roof goes on, and all the different elements. And then also we do a bunch of donations. So we do the angel tree, which is a lot of fun, which you take a name off the tree and you get them gifts. And we do a lot of other things like there's the Thanksgiving, everybody buys a turkey. So LaBella does a ton of community engagement, which is really fun. And participating in those things is a great way to get to know not only your coworkers, but to reach out in the community and expand your network. So now I'm going to transition to talk about AIA Rochester a little bit, and some of the great things that AIA Rochester does and opportunities that you guys might find to find your way in civic engagement and how to get involved. And I'm sure there's many different types of things in Alfred, but these are just some of the things that AIA Rochester does. So there's design charrettes. So the top image is charrettes, was the charrette for the Rock the Riverway. So going to those and finding out all of the different things that are happening in your community is a really great way to get engaged and also learn from not only different architects, but engineers' perspectives, and just having an understanding of what's going on in your community, and also having a voice in what you can do and be involved with. We also in AIA Rochester give tours all the time of different buildings throughout the Rochester area, both new and existing. So we've done tours of the Kodak building. We did tours of RIT Cybersecurity, which is a new building. I'm going to Council Rock, which is a Brighton primary school tour. And that just gives us an opportunity to engage with the community and share our passion. And also gives people in Rochester a chance to figure out, why something was designed like that. Going on those tours, you'll have a better understanding of, they talk about what materials they used, or why they used those materials, or what their design process was. Like the RIT tour was really cool. They talked about how it's actually coded. It's a cybersecurity building, so it's all about coding. And actually the zeros and ones actually spell something out in all of the coding throughout RIT. So like those are all of the little secrets you'll get to know about if you actually go on the tours with the architects. And then we also do traveling boards throughout Rochester. So I don't know if everybody is familiar with the AIA Design Award boards. So everybody puts together a 36 by 36 board, and those actually go around Rochester in different locations in the public. So there's, they go to the airport, they go to all of the different malls, I know they go to the hospital, and they go to RIT as well. So just AI Rochester gets out into the community in these ways by sharing our passion, by showing up or moving our boards around and just teaching everybody in Rochester what architecture is. So AIA Rochester also makes sure to get engaged with a lot of different community groups in Rochester. So just making those connections with other organizations. So 6x6 is actually a fundraiser for ROCO, which is an art museum in downtown Rochester. And so we submit, people in AIA Rochester get together either to build these or we submit together, and we put together 6x6s, and then those are displayed at ROCO. And then those are sold for $20 a piece, and all of that money goes to fund the museum. So that's a fun way to, think about design and have an opportunity to take a few minutes out of your day and put something together, but also, be giving back to the community. We also did Bikes, Beers, and Buildings, which is another fun downtown summer event, which I would recommend checking out if you haven't. So it's exactly what it sounds like. You drink beer, you ride your bike around Rochester, and you look at buildings. So you take an opportunity, and there's usually somebody giving a tour. So you'll get to learn about buildings in Rochester, and you'll get, a little bit of additional information about those buildings. And then we do events with CSI. So if you're not familiar with CSI, I would check that out. It's a pretty cool program, and that actually allows you to have a network of people in the community in like construction. So there's a lot of material vendors who are a part of CSI, and it's a networking event to get to know everybody else. And then Parking Day. Is everybody familiar with Parking Day? So it's really cool, and you guys should do it in Alfred. So what it is you take a parking space and you literally turn it into a park. So what you do is you design it. So this year we actually turned 18 parking spaces into a mini golf course. So it was a lot of fun. We did different architecture firms, designed the different mini golf courses, and it kind of became a competition for whose was the hardest or best put together. And then we actually just sat there an entire day, and we engaged with the Rochester community, and whoever wanted to come up and play mini golf, we gave them a golf club and a golf ball, and we let them go. A different year, we actually did an art exhibit. So we built it was like a wood frame structure, and it had a chalkboard on it. So it allowed people to come up and draw their own art, but we also had our architects in Rochester actually display some of their artwork. That was a lot of fun as well. And then happy hours. So if you have an opportunity to go to happy hours, I would recommend going. I mean, they're a great networking opportunity, and it doesn't seem like a big deal to go there, but you meet new people, and then those connections actually can help you throughout your entire career. So Emerging Rochester Architects is also a really great group. So they're a group of people who are newer to the architectural community, and it's not necessarily just people who are, new to architecture. It's also sometimes people who are new to the Rochester area. And they do a lot of classes. So we did art classes. So somebody actually came in and taught us how to paint. We've done tons of drawing educational classes. We've done tons of ARE classes. So when you start to study for your exams, make sure to take a look at, whatever your local chapter has for ARE study material. And then we do sketch nights at ERA, which is really fun. It gives you an opportunity to take time out of your day and just sit down and sketch with a bunch of people who share the same passion for sketching. And then we do Ask Me Anything, which is just an open forum for us to come and ask questions to a group of people in the area. Generally, we ask some people with a little bit more experience to come as well. And it's just a safe space to ask anything and have that opportunity for those conversations. Another civic engagement that I'm associated with is Construction, which is a really cool program in downtown Rochester. So it's a way for firms to both give back. So all of the cans to build these are donated and to people in need. And it also raises awareness for food, for the lack of food in areas. But it's also a fun way to get together and design something with a group of people. So there's tons of architecture firms that do it in Rochester. So these are some of LaBella's, except for this one, I couldn't resist. I love Up, so I'm like, I have to put it in there, it's adorable. But yeah, so as you can see, we started to get bigger and bigger. So the dinosaur was one of the first years we did it. And then we got a little bigger, we did escargot hunger, and then we did a kraken one year. And you can see that these are really cool public spaces. So a lot of people in the community get to see them. You can see the Cheshire Cat behind us. That was in Tower 280, and then we had it in the Bausch and Lomb building for a while. And then most recently, they started putting it in the Museum of Play. So it's another way to get involved, to give back, but also use your design skills to build something. And it's a lot of fun. And that rubber ducky is the biggest one we ever did. And I didn't put in last year's because the lighting wasn't good. But we actually built the Kodak Tower last year. Not real scale, smaller. But yeah, so we just keep getting bigger and bigger. And it's a lot of fun. And I would recommend getting involved in construction or Alfred State construction. Bill, that'd be pretty cool. And it's actually a competition too. So I'm very competitive. So there's different awards you can win. There's like fan favorite, structurally sound, and then, voted, best by the judges. There's actually a judging panel that decides. Other ways to get involved. So I know some of you are familiar with this program. I think some of you went through this program. ACE Rochester is a really great program. It's hands-on, so you actually design and build a playhouse. And so there's sessions every single week, and you learn something new about architecture, construction, and engineering. So it's a great way to teach high school students what architecture, construction, and engineering is, but also get to know some people in the Rochester area as mentors. So there's a different class every week, and it's a different topic. So a lot of people don't even know what architecture, construction, or engineering is, or they think they're all the same thing, and they have no idea what the difference is. So this gives everybody an opportunity to really see what those differences are and have an understanding of what construction is. And then also all of the playhouses are donated to children in need. So you can see one of the playhouses was donated to that young girl down there. So it's another way to give back, get involved, and then meet some really great people in the area. So another way to get involved is the Explorers program. So it's very similar to the ACE program, but it's just about architecture. And so one of the cool things is we talk about different aspects of architecture and VR. So it's interesting how quickly VR is, becoming a very common place in architecture. So if you have an opportunity to learn about VR, I would recommend it. So we have clients right now so this person is actually walking through the YMCA in Pittsburgh. We've built that model and upkept it throughout the entire design process because the client asked to be able to see it every step of the way. So whenever we made a change in that model, the client asked to be able to put those VR goggles on and see what the change would look like in real time. It was very labor intensive and very interesting, and hopefully VR will, move forward quickly so that we can change things out quicker, because maintaining all of those materials is very difficult. But it was really cool for the students to be able to experience the VR in real time and see what it's like to experience it. We didn't make them build the model. That is not the fun part. We also learned about structures with spaghetti towers, and then sketching and tours around Rochester. So just introducing students to what buildings are around Rochester and the history about them, because every community generally has some really great stack of buildings that you don't even know. I know when I was setting up for those tours and I was doing the research to actually inform students about all that, I learned a ton about Rochester. So, make sure that you go to other tours and take that opportunity to learn about buildings in your area, because there's tons of great things to learn about right here. And then another great civic engagement I've been involved in is the fashion show, the Rochester Fashion Show. 2 years ago for the centennial of AIA Rochester, we actually put together 7 different architecture firms did different dresses based on a building in Rochester. So LaBella's building was the Metropolitan, and we actually designed the dress. So this is the Metropolitan building. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it. It's the building in downtown Rochester that's black and white and like, oh, very nice. So the dress was meant to emulate that, and it actually lit up as well. So it was a really great experience to work with some of the people I work with to actually design this from start to finish. And it was also a great opportunity to engage in another design community that we typically don't have an opportunity to work with. We learned that we are not good at sewing. That dress is mostly put together on hopes and dreams and glue. So it was a lot of fun, and just looking for opportunities like that is a great way to be involved in the community, and it doesn't even feel like you're doing anything. So all of the materials were donated, all of our time to build the dress was donated, but all of the funds for the fundraiser went to the Center for Youth. And that's a organization that concentrates on homeless youth. So it was a great opportunity to give back, do something outside of work that was very design oriented and fun. And also it was a great opportunity to meet some people in the Rochester community I wouldn't normally get to meet. So, and then AIA Rochester also did the centennial installation. So if you are familiar with Parcel 5 in downtown Rochester, it's an empty parcel. There's actually a Parcel 8 right adjacent to that. We did an installation where we asked architecture firms to build a 6 by 6 by 6 installation of whatever they wanted. And it was a great way to actually engage that empty space. So these are a few of the submissions. This one is just really cool, but it interacted with the wind. So as you walked by, it actually made a sound. So it was not only cool to look at, but it also brought attention to the area. The one in the middle is Better Your Model. So we did a lot of research, and we found that a lot of people in downtown Rochester throw away their bottles, but then other people, if you walk to our building, you can see somebody actually digging through the garbage trying to take out bottles. So we were looking for a way for people to put their bottles in there to make that connection between the people that are throwing them out, because there's no other place to put them, you're not going to litter, and the people who actually want to pick them up. So throughout the day, this actually filled up, and then it emptied at certain points, and then it filled back up. So it was a really cool live installation that changed throughout the day. Another one of the cool installations was the library. So they actually had a little mini library. I'm sure many of you guys have seen these around all over the place. I know they're in a lot of small villages. But I really like the design of this one and the simplicity of it. They probably could replicate it again and again and again. So the idea was that the flap can come down and protect the books most of the time. And then you could go in and you could actually take a book out or put a book there. And it was just like a shared community library. And then the last one is actually, it was set up, and they actually designed it to actually look specifically. So this is right at the Metropolitan here. So it actually framed at the right angle, which that picture doesn't capture, the Metropolitan entrance. So it was just drawing attention to some really cool architecture in downtown Rochester. So this installation was up for a year, and then it was taken down. But it was a great way for AIA Rochester to highlight architects' skills and give an example of what we're capable of and engage with the community. So I did mention I'm going to be the AIA Rochester president for 2022. So I'm hoping to redo a lot of these events. And I really want to engage with the community and make sure that they are aware of what architects do and give them the opportunity to see some of our great buildings, our new buildings and our old buildings. And also I'm hoping to redo the fashion show this coming year and be able to engage with that community as well. And then we also are starting an Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. And so that should be launching this year and have an idea of how better to include everybody in our community. And then your ideas. If you guys want to get involved in AIA Rochester or you have some really cool idea, let me know. And I would love to think about it and, you know, try and make that a reality.
As always, we'll open it up to questions. We have so now, how many people are in the firm?
So there is 700 in the Rochester office, 1,500 total. So we have offices all across the United States, and we also have an office in Spain. So at one point, our CEO was from Madrid, so we opened an office there. Yeah. So, oh yeah.
No, it's fine.
Oh, I was just going to say, we aren't just architecture. So we're architecture, engineering, we have planning, we have a power company, we have gas, we're doing solar panels. We have a wide variety of stuff. We've really expanded a lot. So I've been there for 6 years, and when I started, we were 150 people. So it's exploded. Yeah. And it's fun to be a part of it and see all the different things that are happening.
This was very early on. I feel like it's a very small part, but one of your slides had the boards from the Webster schools or something where some of the things you're showing the community or what the community wanted was like branding in a space. What is the branding?
So they wanted to make the school colors. A lot of people want that. They like to see their blue and gold or their red and gray everywhere, make sure their logo, you know, shows up in key locations. And that comes out a lot in like fields. So they love when they have the big logo in the center of the field and you feel pride when you walk out there and like, you're like, this is my hometown and this is it.
So what are the individual project teams on the school project would that look like? Like what is the interaction between like interior designers, engineers, and the architects themselves?
So as an architect, I'm the project manager, so I kind of coordinate the entire team. And I work with so the interior designers, the mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and plumbing engineers. We all work together, and I'm kind of overseeing everybody, and I'm making sure everything's getting coordinated. But on a daily basis, so since the MEP, so mechanical engineering and plumbing, are all in one building, we work very closely. We're constantly going downstairs, talking to somebody else to solve the problem. And it's a lot of, you know, talking about how things should be done because obviously I don't have all the knowledge of mechanical or structural. So I have to work with them and constantly I'm telling them, make your mechanical units smaller. And they're constantly telling me that's not possible. So it's a lot of back and forth on a daily basis. But, you know, making sure we have a great team, so it's really fun working with them and we all get along. And as far as the interior designers go, so we work very closely with them because as you see, it's tons of interiors work. So we have a lot of back and forth and we're almost, so our architecture and our interior division are pretty much the same division. We share what we do. We talk about, you know, will you be doing the finished plans or do you want us to do the finished plans?
The virtual reality project that you mentioned, that whole thing, would that have been possible before your firm got as big as it was and had all of the teams kind of working together the way they are now?
To be honest, yes. It has to do with finding the right individual to do that. So we are lucky. We have a guy named David Palmer, and he is a tech guru. He's a whiz at that, and he had a good understanding of how to do it. And so we relied very heavily on him. Yeah, and I think cost-wise, it was very effective because the technology is getting cheaper, and the maintaining that, we would have had to maintain it anyways, and he had figured out how to make it very efficient. So I would say finding the right individuals, and if you guys have those skills, those are going to be very important skills in the future, and being able to like turn that around and have an understanding of how to get to that level quickly.
I just want to bounce off of
Yeah.
So I guess on the physical model of my we have to pay more. How does that work for you guys? The client can pay for like the time spent modeling and doing it, or in the 3D world, or do they pay for? I guess I'm curious how that ends up on the client side.
So it's having an understanding and having a conversation up front that it is going to be expensive. And with that client, we set a lump sum. We're like, this is how much it's going to cost. And, you know, we might have went over that, but we had agreed to do it at that cost. And I mean, we could have set up an hourly basis kind of thing. There's different ways to do it. But that would be more difficult to track. And generally, we try and avoid that just because of the time it takes to track it and to actually bill it. Yeah. That is a very good question. So that library, so school districts vote on it, and then that's the day that we can actually start doing construction documents. But there was a 6-month period before that. So that voted in 2016, and that was completed the first day of COVID shutdown, 2020. So that took 4 years. Yeah, nobody has occupied that library. It's killing me. Like they've occupied it now, but like with the first year, they actually had shut down schools, so they wouldn't let students in the media center space. It's very interesting, which is why you see a lot of our photos nowadays don't have people in them because people haven't been occupying the space. And it's so disappointing. You built this beautiful space and you got buy-in from these people, and then, as we said, it took 4 years to do that. So the people who we actually asked have now graduated, and they didn't get to experience that space. We were trying to make it so that they did experience it. So sometimes, so it's a triangle: money, time, and quality. So we have done projects in a shorter amount of time, but you have to reduce the quality, or you have to up the fee. If people are willing to pay an outrageous amount of money, we can get it done. So always think of the triangle. Yeah.
So going back to VR, how or do you see VR behind project?
Yes, yep. I definitely think it will. I think people used to say that we wouldn't do renderings of everything. I did a rendering of a grill at a house because the person couldn't decide. And I think people thought, you know, that was a fleeting technology, but I think VR is definitely the next phase of things because it's becoming so readily available, it's becoming economical to do, that it's just an easy thing to do. And as other architecture firms offer it, we're all kind of competing with each other. So we're kind of setting the standard that that's what you need to do. Yeah.
What is models based on like Revit files or SketchUp or?
So right now, we're at an interesting crossroads. So that was all done in SketchUp, but we're starting to, so we use, the name is escaping me. I want to say V-Ray, but it's not V-Ray. No. What's a rendering? No, it's not Lumiere. Enscape. Yeah. And so Enscape's Revit plugin isn't as good as it is in SketchUp because you have more options. But we do all of our construction documents in Revit. So it makes more sense to do the renderings in Revit, but right now we just don't have the capability because Enscape hasn't caught up. So what we do is we build it all in Revit, then we export it to SketchUp to do the renderings. But we're hoping eventually, because technology is constantly changing, that we'll get to the point where, you know, Enscape will catch up and we'll be able to do it in Revit.
Those renderings of the curved bookshelf that you had and then the instead like copies and stuff, were those renderings or were those actual pictures?
Both. Let me go back to that.
Those renderings are done in SketchUp?
Those renderings, so all of my Webster stuff we did in Revit.
Oh.
So the YMCA stuff we did in SketchUp. Yeah, so we end up having to model everything because we have to put construction documents together, and that's all done in Revit, so it ends up getting modeled anyways. And so yes, you can do curves in Revit. I know it's difficult to do, but we learned it. And now we put curves everywhere, so it's worth it. We're not confined by Revit. Yeah, this one. Yeah, so those curves were done in Revit. So it's interesting at LaBella, since we're such a big company, there's different teams. So the project manager actually sets the standard for what you do on your team. So when I started Webster, I decided that we were only going to work in Revit because I didn't want to waste time going back and forth between the two, because it's a time waste. Yeah.
So you mentioned the new YMCA in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Pittsburgh's my hometown.
Yeah.
So have you done any other work there?
Pittsburgh, I have not myself, and I actually didn't work on the YMCA because that's like technically a municipal project, and so I didn't do it. But I toured it. Have you been there? Oh, you should. Check out the giant pyramid in the entrance, and then there's like seagulls throughout. It's so cool. I love this. Yeah.
So I had a chance to do some K-12 work actually for last year, and I really enjoyed it. But I'm just wondering if you have any advice for anybody looking to getting into that K-12 stuff.
I would just keep an open mind. I mean, when I started out, I did bathrooms like over and over and over again. And, you know, you just have to wait for that one project to come along and have that opportunity. And then also finding a project manager who's willing to bring to the client doing something crazy. So clients don't always know what they want until you show them. Because like they might think this is what all the other school districts have done. This is what we should be doing. And if you show them, well, wait, you could do this for the same amount of money, like taking that opportunity and thinking about it creatively and finding that opportunity to do something different and, you know, convincing the client to do that. So believe it or not, a lot of architecture is convincing clients to do something that, you know, it's not only our expertise, but it's also, you know, something that is worth it for you and we can make it happen. So.
I'm sure, sorry, I don't want to take this out of the
You're good.
I'm sure it's easy for firms to kind of develop like or like a thing of just standards or like things so you can make projects like cookie cutter and make them quick. But do you think it's more beneficial to do that for a firm or to try and, like you said, like expand on what the client wants? Because often I hear the client saying they don't really know what they want to see the renderings, they want to see what you've got for them.
So I would say it's picking and choosing. So there are tons of things. So we do roof projects. You're not going to make a roof exciting. And those are the things that you're going to want to have that standard detail library for, and you're going to use that again and again and again. And then bathrooms. I mean, they're standard, there's requirements, ADA. You're going to make them as small as possible because let's be honest, they're not exciting. And you're going to do those again and again. But finding those opportunities where you're like, this could be something different. And then like the libraries was a great opportunity. And then we did a really cool field recently that you think of a bleacher and you think you know what a bleacher is. But what we ended up doing is we elevated the bleachers and we created this really cool space below it. And we took advantage of all of the space below and we created locker rooms and concession stands. The district just hadn't even thought of that. Like it wasn't in their mind. So when you look at a project, you think, what is the value of changing this and how much can you get out of changing just a little bit? And then even once a lot of these, so they have curves and they've got really cool elements to them. But as you saw, every single library had a cubby. So we could use all the same cubby details. We showed the elevation different, but they're built the same. So, you know, making the same detail work in different ways in different portions of the project is really valuable.
I'll ask a question that I often ask of project managers when they come here. When you have my students, what's something that you think that students should focus on? Right now, it's like kind of student learning first get into the actual elements and so keeping it straight and all that kind of stuff. What's something that you think they might want to focus on here?
I would focus on the being able to think creatively and to think about design, because that's what we're looking for when we are hiring people. Is we understand that you might not know Revit, every single button and every single hotkey. We can teach you that. We cannot teach you to think creatively and think outside the box and problem solving. So taking this opportunity to really hone those skills of, you know, how will you solve this issue? What can you do differently? And taking that, you know, to the next level. And not necessarily, I know Revit, it seems like it's important when you get out into the field, but you can learn that. I spend my own time learning it after the fact because we didn't even teach it. But it's easy to pick up, and you're going to be surrounded by people who know that. But having that base and that background in creative thinking is invaluable to firms. And having that portfolio to show that you can do that, and having the explanation and being able to talk about your work, those are the things we're looking for, and that's what I would work on. Yeah.
If you're looking to hire, like looking at students applying for an internship or people applying for a job, what is ideal in a portfolio?
I would say a variety of work, just showing that you've tried a lot of different things. It doesn't always necessarily have to be buildings in a portfolio. If you have hand drawings too, we'd love to see that. Nobody does hand drawings anymore. We get excited about that. That shows that the pencil, when you hit the piece of paper, you're thinking about every single line. And then also your rendering skills, we get excited when we see that you can create a really cool building, and that you have the understanding of how the light should work and like what a good image looks like. So yeah, portfolio is very important, and having a variety of different work in there is
Maybe I'll tell you. Because I'm a little more, the focus is sort of where to try in studio. There's a project happening with the student project. The three students that were doing it, to sit with each other on the front where they live on campus, sort of internal focus group. I guess I'm curious if there's any students are on individual projects, hypothetical projects, don't have a group of kids that they can talk to. Is there a way you think they could information gather like that without having a specific group of people to talk to?
So I was involved in, so this was back a long time ago when I was in college. What we did was we were designing something, and we were actually in a group setting, and what the professor asked us to do was actually take pictures of things and actually have a shared location to upload those to, so that we could all compile that information and add a tag with everything that says oh, this is really cool, and this is really cool. So then we were sharing our ideas and getting things that are out in the world and having photos. And I'm a very visual person, so that helps me a ton when I got that. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And even things you don't like, me and my husband are both architects, and we go out in the world and we, point at things that are incorrectly code related. And it's just how our minds work. And so, and then when we point, I will text my husband code violations. I'm like, look at this code violation. And then when he texts me things, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do that. Somebody's going to take that picture and send it. So having those photos and sharing that information together is helpful.
Is Emerging Rochester growing?
We're pretty steady. Yeah, so right now, I think there was a bit of a lull during the 2008, economic downturn. So we see an actual gap in new hires. So there's not as many new architects coming into the field, is what we're seeing. So I know that RIT saw a drop in enrollment, and I know UB saw a drop in enrollment. I don't know if Alfred did. But yeah, so that didn't help the new architects coming in the field. And then a lot of people actually left the field, which was really interesting, and they found something new to do, and they didn't come back to architecture.
Well, if there's no more, we can last question. All right.
Well, thank you guys.